Um, on the similar lines, given that we're concurrently faced with climate change and a financial crisis, how do you think the plan manages to deal with both of these? Is the climate imperative greater than the economic imperative? And if so, does the plan serve this way of thinking?
You're asking whether the Certain Future document really deals with what gets called austerity, or austerity for some. Other people seem not to be having that bad a recession at all. Delilah's one of them. I might have to edit that bit out. That's a bit cheesy. Uh, we do have overlapping crises, but I would argue that there is as well as ecological crisis and a financial crisis, we face social crises that the Certain Future document is largely silent on, and those are crises around joblessness, loneliness, mental health issues, fears for the future, etc., etc. And that's partly a reflection of policy making is done by comfortable middle class, upper class, university educated people. Uh, Although the meetings in 2009 to create the Certain Future document were far more participatory than the council usually does, they were still largely pale male stale men in suits. And I'm not saying the call to real action was this wonderful egalitarian process either. I think most of us there had university educations which you can use as a proxy for privilege in this society. It's not a great proxy, but it's not bad. There were some retired people. There were some, I think, a couple of single mums, etc. I could be wrong there. I may be making the past better than it was. But this Certain Future document was something that was perceived to be a good enough fit with the council's international plans around marketability, and at the same time trying to solve some of the council's problems, or to address some of the council's problems around joblessness, worklessness, and there was a lot of enthusiasm in the plan, as I recall it, for green growth, green jobs, apprenticeships, in retrofit and all the rest of it. I want to say a couple of other things there. If I've given the impression that I believe that these people sit in Manchester Town Hall cackling and eating babies and thinking just about how to market Manchester to Siemens and Google, then I apologise. These people believe that the only way you solve Manchester's social problems around underemployment, deprivation, etc., is by attracting inward investment. And so I don't think that there's a lot of corruption in Manchester. This isn't a rotten borough, and they're not. These are not screw you, Alan Bastard kind of people. And the Certain Future document does acknowledge the existence of fuel poverty and food poverty, etc. But there are, I mean, again, I don't know if you've seen the blog post I did about all the words that are missing from the Certain Future document. You know, vegan, vegetarian, participatory, etc., etc. And I mean, hopefully that can turn up in your research. And I'm sure there are lots of other words that I didn't think to search for. And I'm coming from white, middle class, university educated twice perspective. Clearly, I am. It's just missing the big picture. This Certain Future document is a more radical document than the council wanted, and a more radical document than the council has been able to cope with. The entire goal 2, which it just airbrushes out of history whenever it can. But it's still not a big enough picture, and it's the refresh not only missed on the science, but it also missed on the steady state economics concept, and these ideas get patronised, acknowledged but patronised. I've gone on for an awfully long time. I hope you're not going to transcribe all that. Was that your final question? And did I answer it?
You did answer it. There is a few more.
Go.
But if you've got
fine.
time, it's 29 minutes past, just to let you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. The 2013 updates notes that while national governments have failed to deliver the agreements and actions necessary for concerted global action, the focus on cities as a primary arena for action, both in the UK and around the world, has intensified. Do you agree that cities are becoming the new focus, and are there implications of this?
Are the cities becoming the new focus for climate action rather than the national level? Yes. In fact, I was just reading about this morning in a special issue of Environmental Spaces C. I'll have to look at what the journal is, but yeah, this seems to be tolerably well accepted that after the national governments decided at Copenhagen that they really couldn't be bothered, you kind of returned to the dynamic of Delilah, what's called boomerang federalism. In the United States, under the Bush II regime, cities like Seattle and other cities were taking action on climate change in spite of the sort of willful blindness, willful ignorance of central government. And I suppose we're returning to that sort of world. Cities are often more dynamic than national governments. Elephants don't tap dance as well as Fred Astaire tap dancers. Well, Fred's dead, but and this will probably be the way forward, that cities will make the running. You have all of this stuff about what sustainability fix. You have people like Richard Florida sort of basically popularising these ideas, the rise of the creative classes and so forth. All of it, of course, predicated on people being able to fly hither and thither, and container ships and so on, alongside the broadband and fibre optic that everyone, and teleconferencing, which everyone goes, oh, it's green. But at fundament, cities still rely on these international infrastructures. A couple of books I'd recommend about cities. One is recent. It's by Stephen Graham from Durham University, called Cities Under Siege, about the rise of surveillance technologies and the new military urbanism. And the other book's a novel, science fiction, called Body of Glass by Marge Piercy, and I think there is a copy up on my shelves which you could borrow, and it's set in the middle of the 21st century, and cities are where it's at, and cities self-govern, and cities go to war with each other. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. What role do you feel activism